because I've given a great deal of thought, and I think actually, first of all, I'd like to thank all the department heads and all the people that work on the budget, including the council members, the volunteer council members that put many hours into doing this. And I think it's the most important thing that the council does in representing the people of Danbury. And I've given a lot of thought, and we're involved now in this whole country in really a devastating crisis as far as the economy of this country is concerned, which affects this budget considerably on a local level. And last year, I pointed out that the plan to increase the debt up to the year 2011 was a bad plan because it did not consider a downturn in the economy. Last year, I also said an increase in taxes, increase in borrowing and spending while people were still losing their jobs and houses were being foreclosed on was totally unacceptable. Now we have a downturn in the economy, and we've had a debt. We have a debt that has increased on our operating budget by millions of dollars, and our ability to pay for it is shrinking. We have less revenue from permit fees, from property tax, from state aid, and other revenue fronts. Everything has been reduced, and we all feel that every day. The way this budget is constructed, the answer to the problem seems to be based primarily on one word: deferred. The capital budget spending is deferred. After finding creative ways last year to borrow money without taxpayers' approval, this year we have deferred borrowing on any capital budgets. We find that this year we're freezing on hiring of people. When we look back on the total headcount, as it's referred to, in 2002 we had 564 employees. Today, in 2009, we have 588 employees. When you have bigger government, you need more people. And that reflects that. Our labor contracts that we agreed to are all back-end loaded. Everything is deferred into the second year. So next year, we'll be faced with the enormity of these contracts. The other thing is the request to freeze property taxes. If we freeze property taxes this year, then we will, in essence, have to pay twice the assessment. And the problem won't go away. It will just be, next year we'll have to pay twice as much as far as the assessed property. So I don't see where deferring anything like the assessment is an easy way out. During the year, we also passed a pension plan, early retirement. This year, the pension expenses increased on the budget by $1 million over last year, due in part to our last retirement offering. On the current group of retirees, the finance director has been unable to supply the council with any financial impact information. But we do know that they will draw money from the pension fund, because most of them are going to be younger. It was offered 10 years in service. They'll be drawing on the pension fund for a longer period of time. They'll be taking a larger amount of money out of that pension fund. And the pension fund has been reduced in value by 50%. So we're going to have to make up for that money in future budgets. That's, again, deferring what we have to face up to. It's like a time bomb, which has a short-term savings and a long-term expense. And we will have to pay the bill. The budget will also be subsidized by $4 million from the fund balance. I would think, protecting our bond rating, we have to maintain this level of bonding, or reserve money. We have to do that because the bonding agencies consider that to be somewhat of a collateral to cover the debt that we have. The other communities that are listed for comparison are all AAA bonded companies or cities in the state of Connecticut. all of them have media incomes larger than Danbury. And therefore, they don't have to be as concerned about setting aside funds as collateral. And therefore, some of them don't have any fund balances. The first one on the comparison list was like Avon, Connecticut. Avon, Connecticut has a median income of $99,000. City of Danbury has a median income of $56,000. It means that we can't pay back our debt as quickly, so the bonding agencies want to see more collateral. All of this, Viral, and all of the expenses, after you go through it all, at the end of this budget, you still wind up with a tax increase at a time when we can least afford it. All of this said and done, in the end results, whether it's today or tomorrow, the taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. When you put together a budget, although we approve it on an annual basis, it's a long-term path. It's a long-term type of creation, that you use a certain philosophy in the way you create it. Our country, as a whole, has spent beyond their means. And what happened is, the house of cards collapsed. If we continue to defer payments and spend beyond our means, this house of cards is going to collapse on Danbury as well. So I think that the budget is very nicely crafted, but in fact, it defers the day that we're going to have to pay the bill. And therefore, I will not support